tired of all the winning yet? Are you enjoying all of the greatness? May I introduce you to Tokelau? Tokelau is 3 teeny tiny islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's our best approximation on our mapping software here at MSNBC HQ. Tokelau, again, it's 3 islands. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. About 1,500 people live there. One of the 3 islands that makes up Tokelau is apparently known for its famous swimming pigs. As for its economy, Tokelau kind of doesn't register on any international scale of economic measures because Tokelau doesn't really have much of an economy. It's basically subsistence, agriculture, and fishing, and, enjoying the swimming pigs. Donald Trump just imposed an across-the-board, no exceptions, 10% tariff on Tokelau. Take that, Tokelau bandits. You will screw over the United States of America no longer. May I also introduce you to the Keeling Islands. Keeling Islands are roughly halfway between Australia and Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean. Keeling Islands is 27 islands, but 25 of them are uninhabited. Several of those uninhabited islands have a real plastic trash problem, but that is not because anybody lives there, but because plastic trash from other countries makes its way across the Indian Ocean and washes up there. The 2 islands of the Keeling Islands that are inhabited out of the 27 islands there, those 2 inhabited islands have a total population of 593 people. Well, Donald Trump just declared trade war on the Keeling Islands. All 593 Keeling Islanders will now be hit with an American government 10% tariff that will apply to, anything they might ever want to export here to us. Make it here, Keeling Islands, if you're going to make it. May I introduce you to Jan Mayen Island. It is a volcano, a volcanic island mostly covered in glaciers, hundreds of miles from anything else in the Arctic Ocean. Jan Mayen, I think that's how you say it. It does have an airstrip, but nobody lives there. Population 0 humans, many polar bears. That said, rest assured, we, the American people, are now protected from the predatory economic piracy of that uninhabited island. Thanks to our genius strongman ruler who has put the American government to work, Donald Trump has just slapped a 10% tariff on Jan Mayen Island, just in case anyone ever moves up there and tries to screw us over with their Jan Mayen Island underpriced exports and stuff. On the other end of the world, there's Heard, H-E-A-R-D, Heard Island, and also McDonald Island. They're in Antarctica. They are only reachable by boat, and it takes 2 weeks by sea to get there from Australia. Heard and, what's the other one? McDonald Island, sorry. Heard and McDonald Island, I know I don't have to apologize. I'm not offending anybody. They're totally uninhabited, both of them. They're also active volcanoes, so even if you wanted to move there, even the penguins might caution you, right? But they're active volcanoes, one on each island, on both Heard and McDonald Islands. I will say those volcanoes and the penguins and seals who live there, they will never menace the American economy again as they have in the past by flooding us with their cheap exports of what, like fresh air, cool breezes, a waft of eau de penguin? I don't know. What do they send us? The uninhabited Antarctic volcanoes of Heard and McDonald.
The fact that you have a handful almost of Republican senators saying this doesn't make any sense, that is a lot in this day and age. And I think it's a sign that they understand that for the regular people who are grocery shopping, this is going to hurt them.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything John said, I agree with. It's 100% correct how these people are out of touch, and that's, I don't know whose fault that is. That's just the way it is. That's how these people didn't know. Was it George H.W. Bush got in big trouble because he didn't know how much a quart of milk was in one of the debates. The ideal, so tonight I spoke to an economist who I trust. The ideal that Donald Trump is trying to do, the art of the deal with these tariffs, is to bring other countries back to us and say, okay, all right, fine. Let's sit down. We'll pull back some of our tariffs. You pull back some of your tariffs, so we can sell some cars in Japan where they don't buy a lot of American cars, and maybe they'll chill out with some of the tariffs on that we charge them. I mean, that's the ideal. I'm not saying we're going to achieve that, but he's playing hardball.
You know what I think is one of the problems, though, and these billionaires tend to say this. We've seen them quoted saying this, that America, should be able to withstand temporary pain. The problem is people living paycheck to paycheck and trying really hard to make ends meet. The people that are cutting the drugs in half in order to make it to the end of the month can't endure temporary pain the way a billionaire can do so, right? The problem is that we're already suffering under very high grocery prices. It's one of the reasons that Donald Trump got elected, precisely about the egg prices. The eggs, by the way, some of which we are now having to import from some of these countries that he is now slapping tariffs on. And so it is so callous to say the art of the deal, he'll do this, he'll do that, because that's not going to happen in one day. That's not going to happen in 1 month.
Here's the thing, we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, it could happen tomorrow. Japan could call it tomorrow and be like, let's sit down and negotiate.
But you know what? The likelihood that it happens by the way he did it is minimal, because he did it. It gives more people the desire to start to work together against us than to say, if he did it to 2 or 3 countries, maybe, but to do a sweeping tariff. I just said last segment, there are enemies like South Korea, Taiwan, and China starting to work together because of what Donald Trump is doing. That is not actually, you're helping them make deals, not make deals with us.
One of the other scenarios, this is from the Journal in a pretty scathing op-ed tonight, this is the Wall Street Journal. They say that this is actually also opening the door to corruption. Mr. Trump is saying that there will be no tariff exemptions, but watch that promise vanish as politicians, including Mr. Trump, see exemptions as a way to leverage campaign contributions from businesses. Liberation Day is buy another yacht day for the swamp. Ooh. The swamp that he's supposed to be draining.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree with the premise of that argument as articulated. Could you levy tariff imports on, or rebates rather, on specific imports for certain industries? I think you can. That's one way to not have this compounding effect negatively on the consumer, particularly working class. I mean, these are things that you really have to think about and work through in a comprehensive way. But I do want to go back to the notion that I was mentioning earlier, and Ashley, you did touch on this, talking about Youngstown, Ohio, and how those jobs, they left, and it destroyed many towns and cities across the country. We do have to figure out, how do you revitalize those places?
But John,
and we're not discussing that.
Are those jobs, okay, Ashley was touching on this, is it fair for politicians to say those jobs are going to come back in 2025 when we are on the cusp of AI, we are on the cusp of technological revolution, because Trump slapped some tariffs that benefit the auto industry in the short term?
No. So the economy, your point, we're the largest economy in the world. 70% of this economy is consumer spending. 70% of all Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck. If you're making $100,000 a year, 50% of those are living from paycheck to paycheck. You're making $250,000 a year, a quarter of those are living from paycheck to paycheck. About 35% of those are living from paycheck to paycheck. You live in Manhattan, you make $100,000, it feels like $39,000. So that's the starting point. People got too much month at the end of their money. And most folks are living, before this, before all this happened, they were already stretched because of what happened with the pandemic and all the money that flowed in, which triggered inflation, which was very stubborn because it was $6 or $7 trillion flowing to the economy. The jobs that we're talking about were on their way out in the Industrial Revolution. It no longer makes any sense for us to manufacture old line manufacturing in the U.S. It's too expensive. That's why about 25% of our economy is tied to international trade. You can have manufacturing, but it's going to be high-tech manufacturing. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tied to artificial intelligence. You can have manufacturing, you can have a new economy, but you got to train people in artificial intelligence en masse. Financial literacy should be a civil rights issue. AI literacy should be a civil rights issue.
But that's not really, I mean, it's
But that goes,
He's right.
But that goes to my
But
point of
that's
a
not-
comprehensive
but that is
economic
not what
strategy
is
to
being-
revitalize
that's
these
not what's
cities
being
that are
talked
struggling.
about.
There are children
in
that are going to
Washington.
go hungry
Yeah.
because their parents can't afford to pay the higher prices on groceries.
And
Everyone, it's now 4 o'clock in the